Well, good Thursday, friends. Morning. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get open for business and let's wake up those football gods this morning. How are you guys doing today? Today is the first day of the rest of your lives, and it is getting closer, of course, to the start of week number 5 in the NFL. It's crazy. Tonight, Seattle Seahawks versus the Rams. Here's the thing that's going to be kind of interesting here as we're talking about playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
Yeah, playoffs. I'm just saying hypothetically. You look at the NFC East at the moment. Now, we're only 4 games in. You're going to see some of these teams turn around in the NFC East. Don't be surprised if all of a sudden the Giants go on a run and they start looking better than what they are, or Washington or the Eagles. It will happen. I don't look for these guys to stay down all year round. And don't think that the Cowboys, that what we're getting right now will be what we get consistently throughout the season. I hope it is. But there's no guarantees. We know teams start out real hot and they cool off and then they get hot again. Some teams start out cold as can be, kind of like we did in 2018, 3-5, and then got hot in the end. Or like Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay caught fire late in the season and carried it on to a Super Bowl. Remember, they didn't win their division. They lost to New Orleans twice badly. But yet, they were crowned Super Bowl champions. And so right now, as you look at it, you look at the NFC East and you say, well, the Cowboys right now, they are the class of the division. And then you look at, well, the rest of the guys. And you don't look at those as powerhouses. Any of them can beat you, but you don't look at those as great teams, playoff teams at the moment. When you look at the NFC South, you see Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay looks pretty good. They don't seem quite as invincible, but they're still really good. You still don't know what you've got from New Orleans. Carolina, are they one of those paper, 3-1s? Or are they exposed by the Cowboys? Did they have a soft schedule? We still really don't know. You go into the NFC West, though. You look at that and say, it could be that all of the playoff teams, the wild cards, come out of there. Between Seattle, the Rams, the Cardinals leading the division, surprisingly undefeated, in the 49ers. But the good news for all of its other divisions, of course, there's the NFC North with the Packers that look like they're going to run away. And then you have kind of the same effect that you have of the NFC East, where the rest of them are bad. The good news for everybody else is the NFC West will be beating up on each other. And that starts tonight with the the Rams going to Seattle to play inside that jet engine against the Seattle Seahawks. And that's where the Cowboys, if they continue to play well, may be able to stack up some victories and have a chance at, home cooking, getting a couple of games at home if they make the playoffs. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. We're still dealing with the aftermath of Jalen Smith being released. Jalen Smith, in looking at all the information and the data that's there right now, as far as for the team's health, this is the best thing that they could do for both parties. Jalen Smith wasn't unemployed but for a few hours, and now he's a Green Bay Packer with the chance, of course, to make the playoffs and make some noise in the playoffs, and who knows, maybe even face the Cowboys again. The thing about football is, you only have so many resources that go around. You look at, say, the Eagles. The Eagles ended up kind of buying a Super Bowl. The Eagles ended up bringing in all kinds of free agents. They got all these parts together, and they got it just right. They had a good mix of running and passing. Carson Wentz actually looked decent for once. And then, of course, you end up having a great defense. And they went on, they won a Super Bowl. The problem with that was you can't replenish the supply with all the free agents that they had. They got old and didn't resupply with younger players. And the way you do that is through the draft. You can look at the Eagles, who have tried to get Charlie Dakota Whiteside and Jalen Reagor and then Devontae Smith. They literally have spent a top two, the second round or a first round draft pick on receivers, and not sure that Devontae Smith is going to be that number one that they so desire. They spent a boatload of picks trying to get Carson Wentz, and they lose out on him. They spent a whole lot of money on Nick Foles and just different players. And that team literally has fed on itself now and imploded, because when you don't hit in the draft, you're paying premium prices for players, and you can only pay so much for players. The Cowboys, you got to look at it and say, God, they're built from the draft. You get CeeDee Lamb, one of the best young and upcoming receivers in the NFL. You got Diggs after him. Just think about that. You got a star receiver and possibly the defensive player in the NFL in the second round of the draft. But you also got other role players like Neville Gallimore in that draft. You got tons and tons of talent. And when you're looking at this year's draft, it seems like the Cowboys have lightning striking again with Micah Parsons, but not only Micah Parsons. We've only scratched the surface of the season, but you already see OC with a sack and, 7-8 pressures and being actually a beast on the defensive line. And even a third-round pick in Golston, who that pick we picked up from the Eagles by trading back to get Micah Parsons. Yeah, Eagles, you could have had Micah Parsons and a defensive lineman, Golston, for what you traded to move up to Devontae Smith. We'll see how Smith does going down the road. He did play well last week. I will give you that, Eagle fans, but it was against the Kansas City Chiefs defense, which may be the worst defense in football. Just saying. Be that as it may, the Cowboys have replenished the supply with players. Not only those guys, by finding guys like Terrence Steele. Some people said he was more like tinfoil. Terrence Steele, shout out to Law Nation, posted a clip of Terrence Steele where they're going on the outside. He literally did a Tyron Smith impersonation and literally launched the guy inside. Guy goes flying with one hand. Boom. You find tackles. You find a center as a fourth-round pick. You're ahead of the game. And that's where this Dallas Cowboys has actually gotten younger. So they jettison a Jalen Smith contract because, let's face it, they got a logjam linebacker. You ended up finding free agents that were looking for the next contract in Keanu Neal and Malik Hooker and Demontre Kazeez, and you hit on them. You look at the defense, there's one high-paid player left on that defense. That's the defensive end, DeMarcus Lawrence. You always pay a lot for a defensive end. But from that point down, Anthony Brown is the highest-paid player that's left on that defense. And that's how you win. And it turns out Colin Cowherd actually agrees with me.
Owner gets older, they want to win. And they may change their worldview on football. Jerry Jones always been very emotional. He loves his players. One of my complaints has been for 2 years, they overpay. They pay good players great money. So yesterday, they released Jalen Smith. Now, they're on the hook for his contract this year, but not on the hook for his contract $9 million next year. This is very important. First of all, this is why the NFL is great. You don't get trapped with players. They draft Micah Parsons. He's a sensational talent. You have Van Der Esch, Neal from Atlanta. You don't need Jalen Smith. Jalen gets paid. No sympathy there. He gets paid. Good guy. Great story. The Cowboys are now out of the contract as of next year. In baseball, the Brooklyn Nets, the Angels with Albert Pujols, the Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie. One of the things I always feel bad for fans is when you get trapped into these bad contracts, especially in basketball, it's a salary cap league, and you're just trapped. Right now, you start looking at certain baseball teams, and you're like, man, you got 9 years to pay a guy, and he's already hit his peak. In football, this is why you can name the really, really bad contracts in the NFL on one hand. There's almost none of them. You get rid of Brady today, be no cap hit, seriously, in a year. And that's the first part of it. This is good for the league. And Jalen Smith, good kid, great story. Jerry fell in love with him, 30-minute press conference. but he was no longer needed. They had a log jam at corner or at linebacker. But this is another reason I like this, because I have been complaining about the Cowboys for several years. The one thing that guarantees you will not win a Super Bowl in any salary cap league is paying great money to good players. Mm-hmm. I'm all for paying LeBron and Brady and Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, everything the market offers. But do it infrequently and do it with great discretion. But this move is very interesting because it's coupled with a couple other things. So now this morning, by getting rid of this contract, who do the Cowboys pay big money for? Their quarterback, you should. A star receiver, you should. A pass rusher, DeMarcus Lawrence, you should. Mm-hmm. And their offensive line. Well, you want to protect your asset with Dak. Now, are they overpaying for Zeke? Yes, but because they pay Tony Pollard nothing, the backup, the unit as a whole is reasonable. But here's the other thing. By hitting a home run with Micah Parsons in the draft and hitting a home run last year with Trayvon Diggs at corner, now the Cowboys are not overpaying for any of their linebackers. In fact, their linebacker unit this morning is almost a bargain. Their secondary, Byron Jones, gone a couple of years. They've got a star. It's almost a bargain. Not paying any of their safeties. Dallas this morning is overpaying a running back. But if you look in the NFL at the positions you should pay, quarterback, O-line, star receiver, pass rusher. So the combination of moving off Jalen Smith, he gets paid. No pity party, great kid, he gets paid. Mm-hmm. The Cowboys get rid of a bad contract, and now because they've hit 2 home runs in the draft, both their secondary and linebacker units, oh my, it's almost like they're getting a deal. That's incredibly important to win Super Bowls. That you draft a Mahomes, and you, for 3 years, don't pay him anything. You draft a Josh Allen and get a break for 3 years. That's how Goff gets to a Super Bowl. That's how the Cleveland Browns, because they haven't paid Baker yet, have this incredible O-line and receiving core and Myles Garrett, and they paid for a secondary. So this is a really big day for the Cowboys. They hit on 2 draft picks. They move off Jalen Smith. Now their books look like championship books. Okay, they're overpaying for a running back. You have a right to overpay for somebody. I mean, Sammy Watkins, good receiver. I swear to God, every team he's been on, he's been overpaid. He's been overpaid by 4 teams. But he's fast. He's good in the playoffs. You have a right to overpay for somebody.
Okay, so in digesting that, and you can only listen to Colin Cowherd so much. It's so funny because he talks about, Baker Mayfield. By the way, Baker Mayfield is actually wearing a shoulder harness right now because he has a torn labrum to play. They're saying surgery not required, but when a quarterback has a torn labrum, that's a problem. I don't know if it's in the throwing arm or not, but you have to understand that your other arm is just as important because it's not just one arm when you throw. You use your whole body. You know, people make fun of the Dak dance, but it's about, and it's any throwing, whether it's shot put, throwing a football, baseball, it's all the body because the other arm leads and pulls the rest of it through. You're literally making like a slingshot here. You are stretching the body and recoiling it when you follow through. So that may be a lingering injury that hurts Baker Mayfield. But he went through there and talked about the 2 players that the Cowboys hit on, Diggs and Micah Parsons. But it's not just them because you got to also look at CeeDee Lamb. You got to look at Dak Prescott because for the Cowboys to get a franchise quarterback, a top 5 quarterback, a guy who is playing outstanding and getting better every year, the fact that you didn't have to move up and spend 3, 4 picks hoping that he is the guy, you spent nothing. And this, my friends, is how you win in football. The funny thing about this is how Colin Cowherd can literally go on opposite sides of any argument here. Because he used to knock the Cowboys about the fact that they held on to their players, that they weren't brave enough to go out there and trade picks to sign a Jalen Ramsey, like with 2 number 1s, or go out and get a Jamal Adams where Seattle spent 2 number ones and a third, and their defense is still bad. Now he's praising them because you hit home runs in the draft, and you got safeties that are dirt cheap and playing well. Yeah. But this is where we are. And let me give you guys a shout out today. I sat here last weekend and looking at the numbers. I was at 39,000, about 100 subscribers. And a week out from my birthday, I was saying it would be wonderful as a birthday present to hit 40,000 subscribers. But that looked like an impossible dream because there would have to be over 100 subscribers a day to get there. As we sit here today, just on Thursday, my birthday isn't until Sunday, we're at 39,903. We're only 97 away. I can't thank you guys enough. Every one of you that are a subscriber to this channel, I cannot thank you guys enough. And I'm humbled by this. And I will work even harder to make sure that I bring you the best, the brightest, and the most innovative news on the Dallas Cowboys. So with that being said, I got to go get to my day job. But you're up to date with everything that is the Dallas Cowboys. Later on this morning, I'll be talking about the New York stinking Giants, the Dak Prescott injury from a year ago against those same Giants, and, of course, giving you guys a preview. Also, as well, me and Stuart, I don't know if Brother Roz, he's dealing with a few things right now. My thoughts and prayers are with you, Brother Roz. We'll probably be doing the pick segment just between him and I. So there'll be plenty to look at today. And, of course, tonight we'll be live streaming the Seattle Seahawks versus the Rams, a very big game. We'll find out, can Russell Wilson be the man to overcome all the shortcomings of the Seattle Seahawks, or are the Rams the real deal? We'll find out tonight. In the meantime,
Our Coach here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is